Hi guys, and welcome to the first video of a new series where we're going to look at a specific race and the cars that entered it. In front of us today we have the 2018 Macau GT World Cup winner. This is Augusto Farfus's BMW M6 GT3 by Tarmac Works. The Schnitzer prepared car won the 18-lap main race on the Gear circuit. The Gear circuit is a 3.8-mile track that runs through the streets of Macau. Tarmac Works and Sparky have produced pretty much every car that raced in this race. However, they didn't actually make every single livery. So we're also going to have a look at some customs that I have had done to complete the whole field. So in front of us, this is the only BMW that entered that year's race. The Macau GT World Cup is seen as very much as a manufacturer's race. The manufacturers send cars to try and be the winning manufacturer, although the teams do take it very seriously, and there is the inter-team rivalry and also the pride of the drivers who want to win. Farfus has been very successful in recent years racing there, with podium finishing results. However, this was his first win at the Gear circuit in a GT3 car. So Schnitzer were the BMW team that was sent. In 2019 they would actually go with two cars to defend their crown, however they were unable to do so. And in 2017 they ran a BMW art car, which I think came in 4th place, despite running at the front for most of the race. So this is the BMW, this is the race winner. It's a really nice model by Tarmac Works, captures the shape perfectly, lots of detail as you expect on a Tarmac Works. The livery is really nice. Unfortunately, it does seem to show up lots of black specks on it, and I've never been able to clean them off, so it looks like it's some sort of contaminant on the paint. But as you can see, lots of detail, interior, everything's in there. You can even see a bit of a floor plan and moulding in the floor of the car. But a really nice model. So this is your race winner. So let's have a look at some of the other teams that competed in that race. We're going to start off with the teams that ran single cars. So our next team is the Zun Motorsport Audi R8. Now, this was raced by Adley Fong, a very experienced driver around the streets of Macau. He's raced Bentleys and AMG the previous year as well, I believe. This is a really nice model. This is actually one of my customs in the collection. So you can see it was based on a Nürburgring car. That's why it's got yellow headlights, which aren't necessarily correct, and the Michelin tyres, but I will try and find a substitute to swap those out. This is a really cool model, and I had done by Speedmaker Projects, so if you want to check those guys out on Instagram, and you can put orders in for these cars. They do a really good job, and they're really interested in this sort of racing. I know they complete a lot of the blank paint cars and things like that. So this is Adley Fong's Zun Motorsport Audi R8 LMS. He would actually come home in 11th place, 42 seconds behind Augusto Farfus. I'm only going to give the results of the main race. So obviously there's two races at Macau. They have a qualification race and then the main race. So we're just going to focus on the main race today. Next up is another custom Audi that I have, and this comes from the Rotronic stable. Rotronic race Audis and Porsches now in GT3 racing, mainly in Germany, but they were selected by Audi to go and represent the team. Represent the brand. So this was raced by Christopher Haas, very experienced Audi R8 pilot. As you can see, this is a really cool colour scheme with the white and blue, a bit different to the usual black, silvers and greys that we get on Audis. Rotronic have been at the Macau race for the previous 3 or 4 years as well, and I think they were there up until the last of the COVID races, so up until 2019. 2020 and 2021 it's mainly been local teams due to the difficulty in getting over to Macau. Haas would finish a credible 6th place, and he was the second of the Audis to come home. But a very good result, and for the Rotronic team. But we'll now look at a couple of the other Audis that also competed. Now, Tarmac Works haven't made a single one of the 2018 Audis, so all the Audis from this race are customs. Next one we're going to have a look at is Robin Frinn's Team WRT car. So this is the yellow, grey and black. Again, another custom by Speedmaker Projects. You can see that this car was actually based on a Macau car, so we have the correct tyres and headlights. This car doesn't actually have any branding on the tyres. Oh no, yes it does, I tell a lie. So this was also done on a Macau model as the basis. Likewise this car. Robin Frins, a very successful pilot for the Audi team. He has competed at Macau several times. In fact, 2017 was the first time that he competed. Unfortunately, he did suffer some damage, but he did come home third place in the end. Robin Frins was the lead Audi driver, so he came home in fifth place in this year's instalment. So Team WRT are the first of the teams that I have that had multiple cars here for this year's race. And the other car was driven by Vantor. And now Dries Vantor is possibly one of the most successful people in an Audi R8. Incredibly successful driver. And this car, very similar to the Robin Frins car, except instead of the yellow, we have the red livery. This is a really nice model, again by Speedmaker Projects. They did the custom work for me. Again, it's based on a Macau car, so it has the correct headlights and Pirelli P0 tyres. So they are the Audis that competed in the 2018 race. Like I said, you'll have to get customs of all of these cars. Power 64, Tarmac Works, and Pop Race. Neither of those brands have actually done a single car from this race. It's possibly down to the fact that it's the least successful year for Audi at that race. They didn't get pole position. They didn't get any race wins, which in previous years they've always at least had a pole or a race win to their name. So no podium finishes for Audi that year. The next team we're going to have a look at is the Craft Bamboo Porsche team. Craft Bamboo at this time were still a Porsche team. They are now, of course, a Mercedes team. And one of the favourite drivers to compete at Macau is Darrell O'Young. Hugely successful in all sorts of categories, and he continues to compete in the GT3 scene. Darrell O'Young is very well supported across the continent. Very well-known name. The VLT colours look great. In fact, he's ran Porsches in these colours for the previous 2 years, I believe, before that event. This car isn't actually in the full Macau livery. You can see it is sort of a presentation car, but it is still a nice model to have. This is the Sparky model. So this isn't a Tarmac Works, so you don't get aerials and tow hooks and things like that. In fact, I think this hood is wrong as well. I think his car still ran the previous, I think the 2017 style front aero, so that is a slight incorrect feature on the Sparky. Darrell O'Young would come home 14th and the last finisher. He was 1 minute 8 seconds behind Augusto Farfus, but either way, he's a very experienced. And once all the international competition disappeared because of COVID, he was often the leading light in the FIA GT3 races. So, a very nice model by Sparky. And let's have a look at his teammate, which was Mathieu Jaminet, in this very cool chrome finished Tarmac Works. Now, Sparky have also done this model, but I've got the Tarmac Works in front of me. This chrome finish is great. So this is the Porsche design from Craft Bamboo Racing, and this car finished 7th place. Mathieu Jaminet was was at the time an up-and-coming GT3 racer. He'd had success in single-seaters, things like that, but this was his first year competing at the Macau GT World Cup. Bit of a baptism of fire, but I think to come 7th in a field with such quality drivers was a very good performance. This is probably one of my favourite cars from the race, just because the paint job, it's really, really nicely done. Tarmac Works have done an excellent job. So that is the Craft Bamboo concern, and there you can see this is the hood that this car should have. But there we go, that's the Craft Bamboo team from the FIA GT World Cup 2018. Next team that we're going to have a look at is the KCMG Nissan team. Now the Nissan this is the first time the Nissan has appeared at the Macau GT World Cup. They had a bit of a tough time, partly because of the balance of performance. Obviously the cars have never raced there, so a lot of GT cars race to a balance of performance, and if you've got no previous data, it can be very tricky to sort of make sure that balance is correct. to allow the cars to be competitive. As you can see, the three cars ran in very different colour schemes. We have Matsuda in the Castrol style colours. We have the Ollie Jarvis car in the very sort of standard KCMG livery that we're used to seeing on their Nissans and now Porsches. And then we've got the Yavisu colours of Alex Imperatori, who's a Swiss driver who races out of Hong Kong now. He very much again has been at the front since COVID at the FIA GT3 races, but he is an incredible driver. If you watched him at Bathurst, things like that, he puts in some very good performances. So this is the Tarmac Works, this casting here on the far right, and these two are Sparkies. Now the Nissans, like I said, had a very difficult time there. Alexander Imperatori came 10th. Oliver Jarvis, a very successful driver in his own right, came 12th. And Matsuda 13th. Now these drivers are all really experienced. They were just obviously up against it. A new track, a car that never raced there before, very much a steep learning curve. Fortunately, Nissan haven't been back, which is a huge shame, and we do hope that they do decide to return to Macau. So there we go, that's the Tarmac Works casting. A lot more detail on the Tarmac Works. You get aerials, tow hooks, the lights are better detailed, you get rear lenses. On these, it's just a plastic lens over some painted detail, and the tail lights are painted on the Sparky. I also find that the mirrors seem to break off these Sparkies a lot, and the rear wing on this one in particular is quite loose. But it's still a really nice job by Sparky for about half the price of the Tarmac Works. The Tarmac Works is also only available with the big oil can, so it's quite collectible and difficult to find. But there we go, that was Nissan's entry to the 2018 running of the event. Now let's have a look at the Manthey team Porsches. So we've got Lawrence Van Thorp. Unfortunately, he would be taken out in the qualification race, so he wouldn't make the start of the main race. So did not start, if you like, for the main race. But Lawrence, like his brother Dries Van Thorp, very successful racing driver. He has won at Macau in an Audi. Dries came along and took over sort of the Audi side of the family, if you like. And Lawrence has continued to race Porsches for Team Manthey. Manthey, a very successful Porsche team. So, of course, when it comes to sending a team to go and represent your brand at Macau, Porsche are always going to pick them. So, the other car was Earl Bamber, a very successful Porsche pilot. We've seen him win at Bathurst with his own team. He's raced in GT Pro and all sorts of championships, Le Mans, IMSA, things like that. This casting is done really nicely by Tarmac Works, although I've just noticed I've got a little bit of a bent decal in here. We can just see that there. But yeah, really nice casting. All the details there from Tarmac Works. I quite like this red and gold livery. I think it looks really cool. It's obviously the colours of Hong Kong, so a really nice livery. Earl Bamber would come home fourth. He would chase home the leading BMW and the two Mercedes AMGs, which we're going to have a look at next. So that is the Team Manthey Porsche. Okay, so the final team we're going to look at are the cars that came home in second, third and ninth place. We'll start with Raffaele Marcello. He came in ninth. He had put in a really good performance, but he would have a few difficulties, including locking up and running wide. This car is a custom. Again, this is one that you cannot buy. It's based on the Tarmac Works. You can see it's a Nürburgring car due to the yellow headlights and the Falcon tyres. You could probably work out which one it was once upon a time. Again, really happy to have this casting. This car did qualify very well for the race. In fact, I've got a feeling it was on pole. No, sorry, he started in second place. So the BMW started from pole. Raffaele Marcello was second. Unfortunately, he made a big lunge, got his braking all wrong, and ended up having to go back to the back of the field. Obviously, street course, once you run out wide, you've got to wait for the rest of the field to pass before you can get back on. So a bit of a disaster for Raffaele Marcello. He would avenge it the year after, though. So that's the first of the Group M AMGs. These are the two castings that are actually done by Tarmac Works. Excuse me. So we've got Eduardo Mortara in the Mercedes meet. Eduardo Mortara is possibly one of the most successful drivers at the Macau GT World Cup. He has won in Audis and Mercedes, and he would come home this time in third place. Excuse me. This is a really nice casting by Tarmac Works, lots of detail, the flat black paint sort of contrasts the white really well. Yeah, not really a huge amount to say about this casting. We've seen it a few times already. I've done a bit of a detailed view of the AMGs. But yeah, Eduardo Mortara, several race wins in this class, but he would come home third this time. Second would go to his teammate in the third of the Group M cars, Maro Engel. Again, this is in like a Mercedes AMG livery. I think it was the different wear and sort of t-shirts, caps and things you get from Mercedes. But again, second place finishing. Tarmac Works done a really good job again on this livery. It looks great. Maro Engel, hugely successful AMG pilot. He's won pretty much every major race you could want to win in GT3. So he was obviously always going to be a top contender for a good result for the Mercedes brand. So that is a run through the 2018 Macau GT World Cup with models from Tarmac Works and Sparky. Like I said, Speedmaker Projects do the custom work and you can order those cars from them. I really recommend giving them a go, especially if there's a GT3 car you really like that hasn't been modelled. Give them a shout and they may be able to help you out. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's quite a long one, but I just wanted to show this collection of vehicles off to you. It's obviously the only time I'm probably ever going to complete a whole entire grid of cars in Diecast, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Check out the next video. If you can, give us a like, subscribe, tell me what you think, tell me what your favourite car is, and hopefully we'll catch you for the next one.